Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my muñaños. This is Jesus from Jesus Gaming and Podcast. Today, in this new episode, we're going to be diving on some of the rumors that actually Xbox and Microsoft Gaming did not acknowledge during their past official Xbox podcast. Official reply to the recent rumor mills that pretty much I think that Microsoft Gaming trolled both haters and bad faith leakers, as I always said in my social medias. And I think that there were some questions left on the air, and we're going to be discussing that later. But I think that I should start this episode with some major gaming news that includes Helldivers 2 and the DICE Award 2024. Without further ado, I would like to invite you to hit the subscribe button for more gaming content, including more podcast episodes. Here we go. Let's go. Well, my fellow gamers, thank you so much for giving me again this opportunity with a new podcast episode. And we start with some major gaming news. And of course, this week being already at the half of February 2024, Helldivers 2 is still making news. This is one of the most expected games from publisher PlayStation Studio and the developers Arrowhead as the most anticipated sequel of the original Helldivers. And actually, the game is a big success. I think that if Power was one of the most surprising launch of this current time at year 2024, Helldivers 2 adoption, I think that could be a great run for the money for Power and Pocket Pair. So, what are the news that actually brings the importance of being highlighted in this episode podcast with me here in Jesus Gaming and Podcast? Well, of course, we have been receiving roadmap news. Developers Arrowhead has been sharing some insights into the future of updates for Helldivers 2, and this includes that the universe of Helldivers 2 is set to grow and change, introducing new tools, new challenges, and new threats from around the galaxy that need the democracy lesson from Superer. However, it's worth noting that these updates could still be quite far away, and this will bring on some other aspects of Helldivers, but I'll be discussing that a little later. But before that, I would like to highlight that Helldivers 2 is making waves by beating Destiny 2's all-time Steam peak, attracting a whopping 333,000 concurrent users overnight. And during this weekend, the numbers already are around the 400,000 concurrent players. With PlayStation 5 owners added in, the highs are even higher. And pretty much, like I said, is making Power Wars a run for their numbers in just a few weeks of difference on the games being launched. Now, including the recent updates that be quite away or still be quite away, it is worth nothing that Arrowhead has probably needed to hire more developers as the game continues to obviously being concurrent development as any post-launch content does require, and more importantly, servers issue. In my experience playing the game, I found that there has been a struggle to entering online games by pretty much every single night since launch. And that is because the server are already in the peak capacity of how many concurrent players. That includes Steam from PC and PlayStation 5 player. And the only fix to that is to have a friend or a family already in a session with Helldivers 2 and have them invited you, so that way you can jump the queue line of getting inside the game. But this is not actually something that I can guarantee that will be functioning. At least in the first attempt that we done it, it works for me. And I was talking about the night of Saturday to Sunday. That's when we tried that, and I was able to jump the queue, but I don't think that that's going to be working all the time. So, in retrospect of any updates and the server capacities, I think that will be the one big goal in the Arrowhead's wrapping up recruitment. So basically, besides all that, it looks into post-release plans, and it's going to be interesting moves as Sony is already wants to acquire the Swedish studios, seeing this as the first effort in its new live service strategy, and it's already become a colossal hit. So I think that both Sony and Arrowhead wants to have things move on, and they don't want to lose the momentum that the game already built. So this server capacity limits needs to be addressed first. Also, and this is pretty surprising news due to the nature of this kind of game. This game, for some people, is perfect to have a player versus player aspect. And Arrowhead revealed two things. First, the game needs to earn the opportunity to have microtransactions. It's true that the game does have microtransactions, but it's a currency that you can win on game without paying anything extra or having big investment or a big investment being obligated to the gamers. Arrowhead revealed that the game does need to have a real justification to have all the monetization that maybe you could see in other live services, that microtransaction is part of the income or revenue of any publisher or a developer. But Arrowhead's compromised that the game does need a threshold to actually have microtransactions to be added in. But at the same time, they acknowledge that player versus players can be competitive, but can be competitive in the wrong way. The wrong way is that they will not allow toxicity from players, and especially these kind of players that play that compete like they were in $100 million tournament all the time and being unclassy, because I had to deal with that in other games. So I think that it's a good thing from Arrowhead to actually really deny that PvP is a necessity for now for Helldivers 2. But knowing the gaming industry, I think that is something that Arrowhead probably could not avoid with time, but at least don't expect PvP in the following months. Maybe we could see 1 year later after launch that probably things might change, or they could have some controls on avoid the toxicity within competitive players. So PvP is not around the corner to round this Helldivers 2 gaming news turn. Well, I think it's a little irresponsible for me to just acknowledge the Game Awards as the only proper gaming awards or this kind of event where you highlight the success of the gaming industry and have kind of the Academy Award, so to speak, to the gaming world. So this past weekend, there was the 27th anniversary or the celebration of the DICE Award. It's one of the most respected peer jury award shows within the gaming industry, and I think that we should understand that the Game Awards, yeah, Jeff Keighley nailed it to have the opportunity to have their own showcase or everything. But 11 years versus 27 years, I think it will be a little irresponsible not to highlight the DICE Award this year. This year's event was hosted by Kinda Funny's Greg Millers and IGN's Stella Shun, and was live streamed directly from the Aero Resort in Las Vegas. And I think that we should start with the Game of the Year award, which surprisingly for some, it was Baldur's Gate 3. This game also won the Best Role-Playing Game and Outstanding Achievement Awards in Story, Game Direction, and Game Design. And I think that I said it in the past episode of the podcast. Actually, me trying to achieve or making a success of trying to guess who will be the Game Awards, actually. I said that Baldur's Gate 3 have a high chance of at least being in the RPG section of the awards, because it is actually the game that had the current space or the current development of games or how games are made, but they don't abandon the role-playing kind of a deal or the structure of an RPG game, because it does highlight all the elements that you do know from Dungeons and Dragons, and the game pretty much respect was RPG come from. This is not just another mixing of RPG and action, hack and slash, or first-person shooter or a shooter game mixing RPG elements. It is a full-fledged game that, like It has you in a third person kind of environment, but does really highlights the importance of what we all remember about RPG games in general. Of course, we had to highlight also Marvel Spider-Man 2. He may not have won the Game of the Year award, but at least night with 6 wins. Spider-Man 2 from Marvel's and Insomniac Games and PlayStation Studio won the Action Game of the Year, an Outstanding Achievement Award in Animation, Character, Original Music, Composition, Audio Design, and Technical Achievement. I think that this is the good news that pretty much PlayStation Studio needed, as being the owner of the rights for Spider-Man games. And pretty much we know that Spider-Man follow-up could be a second game of Miles Morales, and I think we are much away from that because, of course, we are pending on the first Wolverine games, and then an in development X-Men game. We still doesn't have much of details beside the leaks from Insomniac Games this past holiday season. So I think that we are in the expectation of much. Another highlight is Alan Wake 2 winning the Outstanding Achievement in Art Direction. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom winning the Adventure Game of the Year, pretty much like the Game Awards this past December. Super Mario Brothers Wonder, I think this is another repetition from the Games Award, winning the Family Game of the Year. And Street Fighter 6 winning Fighting Game of the Year. I have to also bring in that the 27th edition of the DICE Awards also honored legendary Nintendo composer and sound director Koji Kondo by inducting him into the DICE Hall of Fame. So GG's to everyone who competed, who were nominated, and for the winners. Well, I think we just arrived on time for the main topic of this podcast episode, and it's about what things that I thought or I think that Xbox and Microsoft Gaming should have announced this past Thursday on the official Xbox podcast regarding the countless rumors of a dire situation for the Xbox business for Microsoft at all, and the announcement were just business as usual, except maybe for the 4 unnamed games that goes elsewhere than Xbox, mainly PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, and maybe the successor of the Nintendo Switch, whatever Nintendo might end calling it. And I think, like I said at the beginning of the video and in social media, Microsoft did an excellent work on highlighting and pretty much disregarding false rumors and trolling out haters, non-believers of the Xbox, or even, heck, I think that even trolled bad faith leakers. But I don't want to keep insisting on that, and I'm going straight forward. And I think that one of the biggest questions that I needed to be answered and confirmed is what the heck Xbox is going to do with the Xbox Game Pass Cloud, or what they used to call Project X Cloud, Xbox Cloud Gaming, whatever you want to call it. Exclusively for the Game Pass Ultimate tiers, the Xbox Cloud Gaming brings you a game library where you can play high quality games across PC, consoles, and mobile devices. Device compatibility that you can play whatever you wanted, because the stretch or the weight of the processing is not happening on your device, but in their servers. Of course, this bringing multiple controllers compatibility if you know how to actually setting up them in your computer, or if you're having a gaming device or a portable gaming device, or even your own mobile can serve as a place to play with a Bluetooth-enabled controller, and more importantly, cross-device play, where you can start a game on your console, keep playing across supported mobile devices, tablet, and PC. But where is the news that I was expecting? And it is about the stack behind the Xbox Cloud Gaming, Xbox Game Pass Cloud, Project X Cloud. We knew 2 things. We knew that Game Pass Cloud or Project X Cloud started as a I don't want to go so much techie here in terms of wording, but Imagine a stack being your own console and everything like that. And precisely that was the hardware stack behind the cloud gaming of Xbox. It was basically a server composed by Xbox One X at the beginning, and then Microsoft upgrading, like you're having your own space with an Xbox Series X. But bringing a direct comparison, and yes, I had to name Stadia because Stadia is the best example that you can actually have. Because Stadia, as term of game as a service and cloud gaming, Stadia has the best tech. Period. There's no denying that Google botched up the business at all for their first and only entrance in the gaming industry as a big competitor to both Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. But it's undeniable that the stack of Stadia was based on a high tier computer, completely with a custom GPU made by AMD, a custom Intel processor, 60 gigabytes of RAM, pretty much making it more powerful than just a stack up of Xbox Series X, which brings some limitations. And the first limitation was in comparison with a Bluetooth controller, you had the Stadia controller. The Stadia controller, nowadays, you can use this as a new Bluetooth controller because Google decided that way after terminating the Stadia service over 1 year ago. But the thing is that the technology behind the Stadia controller is that there was a Wi-Fi chip that could enable your account to be practically connected to the Stadia Node Edge, or the point where your service of Stadia communicate with your device. That could be your computer, that could be your Google Chromecast with 4K, which was the minimal hardware needed to play Stadia. And the advantage of that is that the controller has like a almost no latency in the button input. One of my biggest withdrawals or weak points on Xbox Game Pass Cloud is that it is unavailable to notice some latency in the controllers, both on PC, both on. Currently, I'm playing with my Xbox One S, which I took the advantage of playing Xbox Series X game via the cloud gaming thanks to that technology. But even Redfall, after all the fixes that they needed to do, I just couldn't avoid, and I no longer have more fingers to count the many times that I noticed some latency in the controllers. Maybe not the latency can be solved at all if Microsoft doesn't go with the aspect on trying to emulate the technology that was behind the Stadia controller. But I do believe that improving the stack of the Game Pass Cloud or Xbox Cloud Gaming at all could improve things. Back in summer 2023, Microsoft via Phil Spencer acknowledges in the failed FTC preliminary injunction that the Xbox Cloud Gaming stack was left on purpose being inferior than Stadia. Because for some reason, and I think that Destiny is and life can be fun in many ways, Xbox and Microsoft Gaming actually foresee that for some reason that the Xbox Cloud Gaming business could be a roadblock in any future acquisition. And precisely, the preliminary injunction was about the FTC trying to gain a legal right to prevent Xbox, or I mean Microsoft, to buy Activision Blizzard King, which was the focus on the preliminary injunction, is to allow a court to give the FTC time to make the case to actually disallow Microsoft to buy Activision Blizzard King. And for some reason, Stadia was brought in as maybe to have Google, I don't know, FTC trying to make Google say that Microsoft was the culprit of why Stadia didn't function, and pretty much backfire because we already knew why Stadia failed. Mismanagement, missed projections, and pretty much Google really don't have a clear vision of the gaming industry, or maybe and some mix of underestimating the business at all. And I think this was an intelligent play for Xbox. I think in that moment, but that was then. This is now. And one of the announcements that I wanted to see and I wanted to be answered is actually the stack of Xbox Cloud Gaming needs to be improved. Period. Um, since this past fall and winter of last year, 2023, it was unavoidable seeing people complaining that the queues of playing games, even Fortnite, having like 200, 300 people on queue waiting for a space to play the game. And I think that's really unacceptable coming that GeForce Now is kind of now big ally to Xbox in terms of gaming business with the GeForce Now cloud gaming services, which offer you the opportunity to play free on your own gaming library, whatever you want, in any device that is compatible with the GeForce Now service. I think that in 2024 is maybe crossed the line of being unacceptable that you actually don't have any idea if Microsoft is going to go for improving the stack. In my opinion, they should. They just should, because you are no longer on the pressure of FTC. I mean, at least directly. You're not no longer in the pressure of the FTC, and you are in the pressure that you need to comply with your gamers that pay for the Game Pass Ultimate tiers to be able to play cloud games. I think that at this point, it's not so much to ask for Microsoft, in my opinion. A second news that I was expecting to Microsoft to acknowledge or giving some updates, being in the making since 2019 or 2019, is Bethesda Project Orion. Now that Microsoft owns ZeniMax and Bethesda Studio, but if you don't know or don't remember what Project Orion is, I don't blame you, because pretty much after the announcement back on E3 2019, that was the only place where actually Bethesda announced Project Orion, the same event that they announced Starfield. And Project Orion was not directly cloud gaming platform itself. And yes, we are going to keep talking about cloud gaming, but Project Orion was more like a layer for game development. Bethesda back in 2019 on E3, they announced Project Orion as a revolutionary technology developed by Bethesda, the creators of iconic games like Doom, Fallout, and The Elder Scrolls, and now Starfield. And it's a group of patented technologies that optimize game engines for superior performance in streaming environment. This is pretty much a thing that Xbox Cloud Gaming should use to. And like I said, Orion focuses more on the game development itself rather than the cloud gaming platform, as it's designed to work with any game engine and will improve players' experience no matter which game you're playing or whether you're streaming either in Xbox Cloud Gaming, Game Pass, Cloud, GeForce Now, or any other available cloud gaming product or services. If a developer wants to make their game playable on streaming services, they can integrate Orion straight into their game engine. This optimizes the game on a software level, allowing for streaming speed up. And Bethesda claimed 20% faster per frame. This will lead to dramatic reduction in latency, which has long been a major challenge for every streaming services. Also, Bethesda claimed that Orion's reduced the amount of bandwidth needed to stream the game. So this is a good news for anyone with an internet data cap, that it means streaming games won't consume as much of your monthly allowance. Again, if Orion was brought on sale or being given to developers. So in summary, Orion is a game-changing technology that tackles the streaming from a different angle. The game engine itself, it was once promised as a faster, better streaming experience for players at the level of performance intended by the game's developer had at a reduced cost of expand reach for streaming providers. But unfortunately, that was it. There hasn't been any recent news or update about this project. Heck, not even when Microsoft bought Bethesda between 2020 and 2021. So you could expect that maybe Microsoft could have taken advantage of the Orion framework as maybe improving things for Xbox Game Pass Cloud. And unfortunately, nothing has ever come to. And I don't know that for some reason I did expect it to have some news, but unfortunately, this past Thursday's official Xbox podcast regarding the future of the Xbox don't include Orion in its future, and that's pretty much really disappointing. Taking in context, I should say, about my previous, I should say, complaint that Game Pass Cloud stagnated an improvement. So I think the Orion can be also part of the improvement, at least in the software side of things, including for the game development. I don't know if I could say that we should have hopes to hear Bethesda finally saying something about Orion, because evidently, if you took time in E3 2019 to make this announcement, it means that the Orion was in advanced development. Money was already parted in. And I don't think that this should be just written off because to please investors and shareholders or stockholders or anyone that needs to be pleased except for the gamers. I think that gamers in the gaming industry should be the one to be pleased first. Everything else goes after. Unfortunately, that's my opinion, but it hasn't been the data or the facts, and that's most unfortunate. I think that having a special event on a Xbox official podcast regarding the future of Xbox and not including Halo, I think it's one of the most bizarre thing to me, not being included in such an important event, trying to disregard false and misleading rumors and bringing facts to facts. And I wanted to see some Halo's news after Halo Infinite wasn't the success that it was supposed to be, being the latest Halo game after Halo 5 and was touted as a soft reboot of the franchise at all. Soft rebooting, the meaning that the story continues, but it will be in a set of a whole new story and everything. Of course, the multiplayer scenery was the focus of Halo Infinite, and that brought a lot of problems, including the previews or the pre-development phase of Halo Infinite to the launch period and the post-launch content. And I did believe that Microsoft was going to highlight not because only the Xbox being synonymous with Halo, because Halo was the pretty much first game at all of Xbox, and I do believe that there's no future Xbox without including Halo. So I'm taking in context the past year where Jason Schreier of Bloomberg mentioned that 343 Industries is already moving into the next Halo game. And this is important because it's follow up two important things. During 2023, Microsoft was already making some layoff at 343 Industry. Key people, including 343 founder, left the company. And Halo was already being prepared for the next big thing. But the next big thing included that Halo will no longer use their native game engine, which is called the Sleep Space engine, because actually trying to dominate the Sleep Space engine and taking in context that Halo's original developer was Bungie. Let me make some short version of a long story. Bungie was once a big gaming for Macintosh computers provider or developer, and they were working on early builds of Halo, and Microsoft got so interested not only capitalizing on the new heights that Microsoft Gaming could land, they also wanted Halo to be exclusive for Microsoft, including their secret project that ended being Xbox, and that is why they bought Bungie at all. A few years later, Bungie wanted to be independent again, which Microsoft didn't object it, and they allowed them to be independent. I think that it was required a certain compensation to Microsoft, and the compensation was not only monetarily. It included that Halo will remain as Microsoft property, which obviously Bungie didn't have any objection because they were already moving to the game that we now know as Destiny and today's Destiny 2. So that leaves 343 Industry carry on after Halo 3 with Halo 4 and Halo 5. And as per Bloomberg, 343 Industry was founded as a studio that will handle all left of the Halo team from Bungie. And unfortunately, they haven't been able to really optimize the usage for Halo Infinite, and that is why, since a year ago, reportedly Microsoft and 343 Industry are already testing newest things with Halo using the Unreal Engine 5. Reportedly, they have been using some prototypes of Halo content with Unreal Engine 5, but the uncertainty is big as this is uncharted waters for the studio. But that was a year ago, and one will expect that this kind of event will bring some notion or news of what to expect about Halo Infinite. And that is most unfortunately that this was kind of a Halo-less Xbox event, even being the start of the Xbox Game Studio House. It was also heavily rumored that the transition to be a Halo owner on development of the game being licensed to other Xbox Game Studio or even outside developers, the formula of sharing projects with partners for Halo Infinite has prompted some positivity for the games, but obviously those rumors were proven wrong. I mean, it's no secret that Microsoft needed external studios, not even directly members of Xbox Game Studios, to work further on the multiplayer of Halo Infinite, including the Forge mode, which was one of the big promises of Halo Infinite multiplayer, but then came at launch and practically it took almost like a year and a half to bring being brought up to Halo Infinite at all. So I think that the minimum that Xbox Game Studio and Microsoft Gaming could have done is to at least share some news about Halo and, you know, stop a whole year of speculation. But that's how the status of Halo is currently, and I think it was a missed opportunity on the Xbox special episode of the official Xbox podcast. Let me know in the comments what are your thoughts on everything of gaming news that was highlighted today, or what are your thoughts on my top 3 news that should have been news in the Xbox official podcast. Again, thanks a lot for bringing me this opportunity to bring you another gaming podcast episode. For more, please hit the like, subscribe, and the notification button so you can be aware for any future podcast episode and more gaming content. Thank you so much again for your support. This was Jesus from Jesus Gaming Podcast. Have a good one, health and success. Until the next one.